Allow me, first of all, to welcome you all to Addis Ababa on behalf of the Commissioner for Peace and Security and the Chairperson of the Commission, and to commend you for responding to our invitation. I know that this meeting was long overdue. We were expected to have it in October, or at least before the end of 2013. Unfortunately, circumstances beyond our control have made it impossible to convene the meeting earlier. All the same, we are extremely pleased to see you here in Addis for this important meeting, which will inform the deliberations of the meeting of the Chiefs of Defense Staff and that of Ministers, which is scheduled to take place on the 14th. The purpose of the meeting is, of course, very well known to all of you. Last year in May, or in April 1st, when the Ministers of Defense met at their 6th ordinary meeting, there was a decision that was made, a recommendation that was made, that we should assess the African standby force and its rapid deployment capability and make recommendations on how best to expedite the operationalization of the ASF and the RDC. That decision was made against the background of Africa's collective efforts in Mali, which was faced with a crisis, with the occupation of part of that country by armed terrorist and criminal groups, while African countries, in particular ECOWAS member states and Chad, have managed to deploy forces. We also came to the conclusion that our action could have been more effective, more efficient, especially when the armed and terrorist groups launched an offensive in Kona. We had to rely on external intervention to head off that offensive. And it was felt, therefore, that we needed definitely to expedite the operationalization of the African Standby Force and its rapid deployment capability so as to endow the continent with the capacity to address the challenges facing it. And it was again that background that the Ministers of Defense correctly requested the Commission to make an assessment of the ASF and come up with recommendations on the best way forward. Then in May, when our heads of state and government met here in Addis on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the OAU-AU, they also endorsed the recommendation of the Ministers of Defense regarding the assessment of the ASF, and at the same time they decided immediately, in principle, to establish an African capacity for immediate response to a crisis, ACIRC. And the capacity was conceived, or is conceived, as an interim arrangement pending the full operationalization of the African standby force. Again, it was felt that there was need for Africa, through its continental organization, the AU, to be in a position to respond with the speed required to the peace and security challenges confronting our continent. And the Commission was requested to take a number of preparatory steps on the modalities for the implementation of the ACIRC. So this is the background informing the convening of today's meeting. I'm pleased to inform you that as a follow-up to the decisions made by the heads of state, we have established a high-level panel chaired by former Minister Ibrahim Gambari from Nigeria, a distinguished African personality with wide experience, diplomatic, but also in peacekeeping. He was the head of the UN-AU hybrid operation in Darfur. So a team chaired by Professor Gambari and including a number of experts from the different regions of our continent to look into the efforts to put in place the ASF and come up with recommendations on how best we should take this process forward. Their report is submitted to you, has been forwarded to all member states in all AU working languages, and it contains a number of recommendations which we believe as Commission are forward-looking and can help us achieve our common goal of operationalizing the African Standby Force by 2015, including its rapid deployment capability. As far as the ACIRC is concerned, we have also taken the steps that were expected of us The chairperson of the Commission, immediately after the decision, wrote to all heads of state and government to formally bring the decision to their attention and request them to communicate, to inform the Commission of their pledges in this respect. As you know, ACIRC is based on the principle of willingness and capacity to contribute. A number of member states responded, and on that basis, we also undertook as Commission consultations to see how best we can deepen the concept and come up with modalities to be submitted to your attention for consideration, of course, and hopefully endorsement before we could submit them to the higher organs. That work also has been done, and the outcome of the consultations that were undertaken to help the Commission deepen its reflection on the modalities for the operationalization of the ACIRC are also submitted to you, along with the report of the high-level panel on the ASF. This is to say that your meeting is expected both to look at the recommendations made regarding the ASF, but also at the recommendations made regarding ACIRC. And we are quite confident that with the expertise we have in the room, we'll come up with sound recommendations on how best to take this process forward. I would like maybe at this stage to emphasize the urgency of the situation. One, you may have seen that over the past few months, well, since last May, the situation in countries such as CAR, the Central African Republic, has deteriorated, and ECAS had a mission there called MICOPAX. We agreed with ECAS to strengthen that mission through its transformation into an African-led international support mission in CAR called MISCA in French and AFISM-CAR in English. And this shows that indeed the challenge of peacekeeping will be with us. Peacekeeping, peace support operation will be with us for the years to come. And the sooner we enhance our capacity to deal with those challenges, the better for the continent. You would, I'm sure you are also following the unfortunate situation affecting the brotherly country of South Sudan, with the fighting that erupted since 16th of December. We do hope and pray that the IGAD-led efforts will yield the expected results. But again, this situation is an illustration of the challenges that continue to confront our continent and the need for us to enhance our capacity, not only our capacity to prevent, our capacity to resolve, but also our capacity to respond, including through peace support operations, peacekeeping operations, peace enforcement operations, to the challenges at hand. So we believe that this meeting is timely. It has an important agenda before it, and of course your deliberations are eagerly awaited by, I trust, the chiefs of defense staff, the ministers, and by the summit, which will be meeting here at the end of this month. The recommendations, the outcome of the meeting of ministers will be submitted to the ministers of foreign affairs at the end of this month, and then to the heads of state for them to make a decision. You would recall that in their decision on ACIRC, the heads of state have requested the chairperson of the Commission to report to them at the end in January 2014 to allow them make the required decision. So the outcome of your meeting is extremely important. As Commission, we would like to assure you, of course, of our readiness to provide whatever information you may need, whatever clarification may be required. My colleague Bam is around, and other colleagues from the PSOD are also around to provide whatever clarification you may need to enable us to go forward. We have 2 days before us. We need to move with deliberate speed. We need to be action-oriented. We need to be focused. And our work has really to be geared by one concern, implementing decisions that have already been made. Implementing decisions that have already been made by the relevant EU policy organs. And our role is, of course, to come up with sound recommendations on the modalities, but I'm confident that we'll succeed in doing that. In conclusion, allow me to wish you all a happy and prosperous New Year, starting 2014. And we all pray that 2014 will see Africa making more progress in dealing with the conflict and crisis situations facing it. Already started in CAR. The ECAS countries were meeting yesterday and even this morning to deal with the situation there. IGAD is seized with the issue of of South Sudan. The AU is active in Somalia and elsewhere, and we trust that through our collective efforts, we should be able to make the progress that our people are awaiting.